All right, let's go ahead and get started. So thanks again to everyone for joining our Themes Challenge AMA today. We are quickly approaching the deadline of this Themes Challenge, so we're excited to meet with you once more before that deadline to get any of your final questions answered. So we had a bunch of pre-submitted questions. We're also going to go over some of the submission process again today. And then hopefully at the end, we'll have some time to do some live Q&A. Before we jump into that though, I just want to remind everybody that we did push the deadline back a week. So instead of it being submissions being due on the 16th, they are now due on November 23rd. So hopefully that additional time gave you all a moment to polish, add any final features that you'd want. And then again, hopefully we'll be able to answer any of those final questions for you today. So let's do a quick intro. This is the team that hopefully you've seen us all before. We have some developer advocates on the call, tech lead and Chris, and some product managers. So we'll be the group that are answering any of those questions for you today. But again, first, what we wanted to do really quick is talk about the submission process. So I'm going to hand it over to Chris, who's going to review at a high level what are those key things you need to do in order to get your theme in.
All right. Okay, everyone give a quick thumbs up if you're able to see my screen. Perfect, thank you so much. All right, so I'm just gonna quickly run through how to submit a theme to the marketplace. So here I'm in the design manager, and you'll see that I have a theme titled Hackathon Theme with a label of Hackathon Theme. So this is a free provider portal. So if you go to the asset marketplace and you go to listings, you'll end up in your listings. You can see that we have quite a few in this portal. But to submit a theme, you're going to go ahead and select the Create a Product Listing. And you'll see this New Themes tab here. So you can go ahead and select that. You'll see that we have the Hackathon theme that I created in the Design Manager. And if we save and continue, you'll see that the name is already created. And there's a quick description. Additionally, we're going to have to give a example link, and I don't have one, but we'd also want to give a link to the documentation if possible. Once that's filled out, this theme's not specific to any industry, so select not industry specific. If you do have a theme that is specific to an industry, recommend selecting that industry or the closest related industry, and that will help with customers who are filtering for industry-specific themes in the marketplace storefront. Gonna go ahead and select, we'll select a, supposed to be able to select the thumbnail here, I apologize. This wasn't planned here, so let me go ahead and just find a quick image that is 480 by 360 pixels on my machine. Okay. Go ahead and drag one in. And there's my beautifully marketed image. Additionally, we can add some product detail images. For the product detail images, we allow 5 images that go in a gallery within the product details to really showcase some of the features of your theme. So once you've uploaded all of your images, you can save and continue. You can preview your theme quite easily, or sorry, your listing page. You'd see here that you would have all of your gallery images. You'd want to go ahead and read the theme design guidelines and confirm that you are the creator of the theme, and go ahead and submit it for approval. Looks like it's actually timing out right now, but in a perfect world, if your theme passes approval, you'll be sent back to your listing screen, and your theme would be submitted for the review process. All right, so let's go ahead and look at some of the pre-submitted questions that have been sent to us. This is a fun one that we get quite often, and I know that it can be frustrating for providers from time to time when the queue is backed up. But how long will it take for you to review a theme submission to the marketplace? Giving a specific timeline for review is pretty difficult. We are working on increasing the size of the QA team, but currently it's somewhat small, and we've been receiving a bunch of theme submissions over the past few months. So there's no real way of knowing how to predict what the timeline could look like. On some days, we don't receive any theme submissions, where on other days we might receive 3 or 4. What we can tell you is that on average, it takes about 8 to 10 hours to review a theme. We really go through all of the theme assets and make sure that everything works as expected, and is cohesive and can be built to scale for whatever a customer's needs may be. Can individuals submit both a paid and a free theme? Yes, you definitely can. And for the sake of the hackathon, it's actually going to be considered one submission. We will, the QA team will review the paid submission as far as the contest rules, except for the actual free submission. That'll be the free theme that's submitted, and for best free theme. I do want to take a minute real quick just to stress that when you do submit your theme to the marketplace, please go to the dev post page and also submit the form there, so that we can ensure that you're part of the contest. Can we use HubSpot CDN links to the provider's portal to serve images and videos used as default content in theme code template files, or must those assets be included locally? The assets should be included in a theme as we validate that relative file paths are used. This also allows a copy of the assets to be delivered to each customer who purchases the theme to their portal.
One thing that I will just add to this, though, is we are working on the ability to, through the design manager, to upload files like images or any of the other file types that are supported through local development that aren't available in the design manager. So we do hope to have that relatively soon, but probably not before the submission deadline.
Thanks, Will. All right. If customers would like to have custom coded customizations or extensions to the theme, is it only possible with cloning the theme locally? And what if they've already started using and purchased the theme and suddenly realize they need a custom solution for a custom part? It's a really great question, and it's honestly a pain point both with marketplace themes as well as our default themes currently. The current implementation, unfortunately, is that yes, you would have to clone the theme to make any edits. We understand that that does lead to a disconnected experience, especially if content has already been created from the theme. That being said, it is something that we are working on, and hope to support extending customizations in the future. As I understand, system templates and blog listing templates are not editable anymore using themes. How can layout style variations or standard text translations be achieved other than cloning and extending the whole theme? What is planned for such templates, and can we already prepare for that? This is another great question, similar to the last question. We are definitely aware of the shortcomings when it comes to editing system and blog content, and we are actively working on a solution for both. We are planning on creating a consistent editing experience for content creators by giving them access to make updates similar to the features for website and landing pages. As for a developer, unfortunately, there isn't much that you can really do to account for these updates that we have planned currently, because we do validate that you can't use drag and drop areas within system templates and blog templates currently. But I will say that I assume in the future there will be something similar, if not the same, for those template types. Regarding submission requirements, create a simple screen recording video. Will this video be publicly available, or is it only for the internal process of the hackathon? This question certainly isn't my forte, but from what I understand, the required screen recording is meant to help judges understand the broader value of your theme submission. While it won't be featured on the marketplace listing, you're welcome to use it in any of your own marketing materials or documentation. In some cases, we may share links to the demo videos publicly as well. For example, they may be visible on DevPost in the submission gallery. Not sure if anyone else has any context there on the panel.
So yeah, those videos, as Chris mentioned, they are definitely going to be just for the judges to kind of look at. They won't be shared publicly on the listing. We do have a question that came in regarding this. So this is a perfect just to like add this into here about how long we should expect them to be. I would say honestly, make them as think of it as a sales pitch or more like an elevator pitch too. So you don't have to do like 10 seconds, but I wouldn't say any more than maybe 5 minutes. You just want to do a real quick rundown of like the features that really call out why your theme is better in those categories than these other themes that are being submitted. Not to say that one's always going to be better than the other. Some might have some feature comparison overlays and stuff like that, but just give us a really good rundown of your theme and the things that you've included into it.
Thanks, AJ. Would you please consider removing the restrictions on template provider accounts to have a custom domain so they can create theme demo sites? I can create templates on the side and cannot pay monthly to cover costs of having a full-fledged account. I realize you don't want people to have their business websites hosted for free, but the theme demos, I think this should change. Maybe restrict the page count or have a new restricted account just for theme demos. Definitely a loaded question. And I think, well, I should say questions, and some of them are certainly answered here as well. So the free provider accounts within HubSpot, they're kind of wild because they truly do give most of the CMS functionality within the portal. However, the reason we don't allow for a domain to be connected is because we'd essentially be giving away an enterprise portal for free. I do feel that personally the limits and restrictions is very interesting. And although I can't say whether it's something that we would provide in the future, I think we are sort of beginning to account for that with other hubs and tiers and trying to make things as accessible as possible for smaller businesses to really still have the power of the HubSpot CMS. Does the theme have to be set as free during review? When would we be able to set the final price before release? Great question, and sorry if there was any confusion. A theme does not have to be set to free for the hackathon. It just opens you up to having the opportunity for additional prizes. I will say, if you do choose to submit a theme for free into the marketplace, we have validation in the marketplace that once something is free, it can't then be changed to being paid. The reason for that is we really try to hold all of our statistics around download count and whatnot to be as true as possible. Before we added that validation, we did have several providers sort of abuse that by opening up or offering free listings, having thousands of downloads and then changing it to be like $1,000. And that was really not a great representation to our customers, because they might see this asset for $1,000 and say, wow, it has thousands of purchases. This must be absolutely amazing. And perhaps it was absolutely amazing, but it wasn't really giving them proper insight into the truth of that theme and the purchases. Do you have any plans for broader marketing of themes to reach people who are currently not HubSpot customers? While I can't really talk too much to future plans, we are excited for what's coming in 2021, and we expect the CMS Hub and the marketplaces to continue to grow at a rapid pace, as we really feel that they are extremely connected. For anyone who's been a part of the HubSpot marketplace for quite some time, it can sometimes feel like they're sort of two different entities, and we want all of the support of the CMS to really be supported in the marketplace as well and make it as cohesive as possible. So for broader marketing, I do see, or I hope to see plans in the future for that, but I can't answer that right now. Of other theme purchasers so far, what have been some of the common questions asked to HubSpot support? What are they most confused by? This might be good info to know for theme documentation. This is a really good question, and it's somewhat difficult. I personally don't have too much insight into some of the pain points with support. other than some of the things that I've heard in the past that have been called out previously in some of the other questions, such as the ability to extend and customize a theme, and do you have to clone a theme, etc. Curious if anyone else on the panel can add anything to things that they've heard or seen, both from customers as well as providers and developers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing that I would say is, actually play around with and really use your theme and make sure there aren't things that are confusing about it or even bugs that are showing up on the HubSpot side of things with your theme. And if there are, definitely let us know about those so we can address those bugs. So just making sure like everything actually works as you intend it to, and there's nothing unforeseen happening in the theme editor or the page editors or anything like that. Making sure if there are any bugs that do ever show up, letting us know so we can address those.
It's a really great point. Well, thank you. I guess sort of on that same thread, we try to encourage, but always try to be in the mindset of building for scale. Although you may have one specific solution in mind, that's not necessarily what a customer is looking for, and they still may download or purchase your theme. So if you can kind of make things not overly generic, but built in a way that they can be sort of multi-purposed, that can be extremely beneficial for customers. Do you have any plans for marketplace analytics to help providers know how to improve their themes or listings? For example, number of listing views, search keywords, affiliate sales, etc. I think this kind of goes along similarly with the marketing I see opportunities there. I think as a company, we all see opportunities there. I can't say whether we will or will not be exploring these options in too much depth, but I do see a world where providing this information for both partners, providers, and in some cases, improving what we display around grades for themes to customers will all be beneficial and help the marketplace ecosystem. Can we add D&D areas to global partials? This would give content creators a lot of flexibility over headers and footers. I could not agree more. Although this isn't currently supported, it is something that we're actively working on supporting and plan on providing a solution in the future. I don't see it being available in time for the contest. However, in the future, I will say if and when it is supported, that it will probably use very similar, if not the same context as the current D&D area Hubble. And yeah, I'd say just look forward to it in the future, similar to the blog and system page editing. Currently, it is not possible to change settings of global header footer elements on a template-based level. Is it okay to showcase different header styles layouts in the template preview, the page level, that are not a one-to-one reflection of the regarding template? I'm not quite sure I'm fully following this. I'm not sure if anyone else on the panel may have some insight here.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either what was meant. So if you asked this question, please add some context in the chat. But I'll try and give sort of an answer to what I think is being asked. So if you implement a header or footer and you're using a global partial for that, it would be global across the entire site. So any changes made within that header to modules within it would end up reflecting across all of the pages that partial is used on. And as far as showcasing different styles based on, it looks like for at the page level, what I would say is that your preview and what the content creator sees in the editor should be what the end resulting page looks like. Otherwise, they might think that they created something one way when in reality it looks different.
Thanks, John. Yeah, the last part of that is certainly true. We really strive that the example pages do match the template themselves, so that when a customer does purchase or download the listing, that they have an accurate representation of what's displayed. The theme boilerplate contains helpful README files for developers. Should these remain in the theme or should they be deleted? We encourage you to just delete those unless you're updating them to be relevant with your theme. They're meant for the developers of the theme themselves. So I always recommend commenting and adding helpful notes if possible for both developers and customers. However, just keeping the boilerplate notes are not necessary. What are the differences between themes and templates? I don't think we have enough time to fully answer that. What I can say is a theme is more of a global website package that is comprised of many building blocks on our systems, one of which being templates. So a theme is comprised of templates, global content, modules, and then of course theme settings, which really harness a lot of the power of the themes. Theme settings allow content creators to be able to make sweeping style changes without the help of a developer. Templates, we did change sort of the approach to templates when we introduced themes, where beforehand we really relied on our drag and drop layouts, that being a drag and drop template within the design manager. And we wanted to move that functionality to the page level so that content creators could really utilize it and make one-off changes if they choose. So a template is essentially just a piece of a theme, although when we introduced themes, we did sort of introduce the new concept of templates where they went to coded files and they utilized the drag and drop area Hubble now. All right, so that was all of the pre-submitted questions. I think now we can take some time to answer some live questions.
All righty, so we'll go ahead and we'll run through the list here. We've got about 5 that have been added. The first one comes from Sam McKinney, and it says, if my theme gets denied for a very minor reason that I can fix in just a few minutes, does my theme go back to the bottom of the approval queue?
Yes, the answer is yes. We do, if something is resubmitted, it does go to the end of the queue. Obviously, for the sake of the hackathon and the deadline, we're doing our best to review as many themes as quickly as possible. And I hope I don't get shamed on this, but if there are resubmitted themes for the hackathon, we probably would give those a little bit more priority over non-hackathon submissions, just so that we could get that to the judges in time.
And then a follow-up question from Sam. Once a client purchases a theme from the marketplace and they want an updated version, do they have to get an entire new theme pack from the marketplace, or is there a way to just deliver the updates like a single module?
It's a great question. Historically, the answer is that we just deliver a copy of the assets. However, when we introduce themes to the marketplace, we actually deliver a read-only version, and that allows us to seamlessly update to the latest version. So it doesn't deliver the clone anymore. It just delivers or updates the existing version.
The next one is from Jose Thomas and says, can we add editable modules in blog listing pages? Where can we edit the blog listing page modules?
This is something that we're thinking about very actively. It's currently not technically possible. Some developers have used global partials to make it happen, but it's not the ideal experience we're aiming for. So soon.
And our next question is from an anonymous, and it is there a preference in the copy when designing a theme? For example, using help text copies such as your H1 goes here, or reflecting how a business may use it, such as providing outstanding web development or lorem ipsum copy. So I can chime in a little bit on this, and anybody else feel free to tack on the panel. What I've always done is when providing a preview of a theme, whether it be a page or anything else, lorem ipsum, while it's great as filler content, doesn't accurately represent the type of content that would actually be in those certain areas. So it's always best to kind of put some kind of example copy, similar to, as you mentioned, providing outstanding web development, to give them an idea of the type of header that would be there, as opposed to saying your H1 goes here.
Yeah, just to tack onto that as well. Obviously, on some content-rich pages or templates, it can be difficult to come up with a ton of content. I'd say at the very least, using non-lorem ipsum headings and subheadings is best, and you can also help direct folks to how that section should be used. Additionally, going back to the pre-submitted questions, we do want the templates and the previews to look similar, if not the same. So that's a good opportunity to kind of still fill out your template with some lorem ipsum, but some relevant content that can be delivered.
And our next question comes from Tyler Corwin. Will text fields have the ability to get added to the theme fields.json in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. For those of you who noticed, there are a number of module fields that aren't available as theme fields. And we mostly made that decision thus far to sort of separate out content and style and prevent users from editing content as part of theme fields, and rather developers using global partials for the editing of content that should be used across the website. So this is all still open for debate. So, Tyler, like if you have a good use case for having a text field as part of theme fields, definitely feel free to share that, with us or in the themes room of Developer Slack, and we can talk about it a little bit more. But for the sake of the hackathon, I would assume that's not going to happen by then.
And then our last question here is from Melanie Locke, and it says, how do you recommend implementing CSS styling across the theme for scalability?
So your theme-wide styling, the styling that you'd use for your core templates, your header and your footer, usually you would put that into one main CSS file. And if you look at our boilerplate, what we're doing is we have separate files that we're using just to make authoring easier. And then those all get included into one main file. And then that file is then what is required onto the page. And then for modules, having your CSS inside of the module for the actual module related code is a huge advantage for caching and for performance in general, because every instance of your module that gets loaded onto the page, regardless of how many times it's on that page, it will only be loaded once. And then in addition to that, right now, a cool little advantage of HTTP 2 is that all of the CSS files for your modules will all be able to be loaded at the same time, as well as like preventing the issues that come with that previously came with having a lot of different HTTP requests. And why this matters is, say your first page load, it might be the same as back before HTTP 1, where you might have all of your assets combined into one file. But now with HTTP 2, with them being separated out, the next page load that the user makes onto your site, they're going to be able to basically just retrieve 90% of your CSS all from cache, instead of having to download a whole new CSS file. So just use your main theme style sheet for all of your site-wide styles, and for module-specific code, put it inside of a module.
Thank you for the answer, John. That's all that we have for the live Q&A. We still have a little bit of time. If there are more questions, please feel free to post them in the chat or in the live Q&A right now, and we'll give it a couple more minutes to see if there's any more that come in. And we've got one. The question is, how many themes do you expect being submitted to the contest?
I don't know what we want to answer with this, but Micah, who was previously on, would have been the best person to answer. But we're expecting a fair amount. We've prepared for it by having extra people help review themes. It shouldn't discourage you though, because many of the people submitting are solutions partners, and so they've built themes before. And so if you are a solutions partner and you've been building themes for customers already, like this should come easily for you. So don't be discouraged by there being a lot of submissions.
And then another question that came in, and John, I feel like you may be able to help answer this one as well. From Tyler Corwin, I end up using a few custom macros that I end up using across multiple modules. Will there be a feature in the future where I can store all the macros in one spot and call them in any module? I know, John, you've done a lot of work in implementing macros across modules. So if you want to go ahead and.
Yeah, so I'm not certain if you're already doing it this way, but you technically can do that. So you can have a Hubble file. I would use a Hubble HTML file. And then you can import that file into a module. So you could.
I think Tyler's maybe, I only know this because Tyler and I spoke recently about this. But I think the question is there a way to globally scope basically macros as part of a theme so you don't have to keep importing the same file over and over again? Yeah. So not at the moment, Tyler, but I think that's a pretty good idea, and definitely something we'll consider and think about.
Just to share a little bit on that too, when we introduced the new, I say new now, although it's been several years, version of custom modules, the concept was that they'd be contained elements, so that everything should be contained within the module. However, since introducing themes as a contained project, I think that there is opportunity for us to rethink that, certainly.
Alrighty, so if there are no more questions, then I believe we can call that a wrap. Let's double check real quick. We did have one just come in, and it's from Reddy. Sorry, I would totally butcher your first name, so I'm not even going to try and attempt that because I don't want to do that to you. What is the minimum of unique pages that should be there for themes to be considered?
For the templates themselves, we do have a minimum within the developer docs for marketplace requirements. What we've basically said is we want the minimum to, there is no minimum number, it's just a minimum of type. So you can certainly have one website page, one landing page, one blog listing and blog post, and of course the system templates. However, we don't require a membership at this time. But yeah, if you check out the theme requirements, I believe it's in the first section there.
And coming in from the chat, I don't know if you guys just saw that one, but it says, will the limit to 50 modules be extended at some point?
Short answer is yes, we hope to. The long answer is I don't know when that will be. The reality is we try to to limit the number, to avoid any timeout rules during the submission and delivery process. It's something that we're working on, and I should say reworking on, to a new iteration to really support themes better. But I don't have any sort of time frame around that.
All righty. I don't believe we have any more questions coming in right now. So is there anything else that anybody on the panel would like to mention or say before we call it an end to our Themes Challenge AMA real quick?
Looking forward to seeing all of your submissions in 11 days.
No pressure.
Alrighty. As always, we are here to answer questions. We do have our developer Slack as well as the developer forums. So please feel free to post any questions inside of there, and we can always help to answer that as well. If there are no more questions, thank you guys for attending. We really appreciate it. And, as Tori said, and as John said, no pressure. And, we are really looking forward to seeing what comes in. I know I'm very excited as one of the judges to see everything that comes in as well. So thank you guys for coming today, and we hope you got a lot of info out of this.